Yo, what's up? We are now sitting in a Kia EV5. This is a long-range front-wheel drive. And yes, today I will talk about something different, but it is car-related. It is USB-C. Yes, I love USB-C, and I cannot lie, because I see that more and more devices use USB-C, and I mean, we have those other USB plugs. Actually, many car reviewers, they just tend to call them USB and then USB-C, but the USB they call, that's actually USB-A, the squared plug. You know, the USB plug where you need at least 3 to 5 attempts to successfully plug it in. Yeah, so what is so wonderful about USB-C is that it's unidirectional, what they will call it. You can plug it in either direction or upside down, whatever, and it works. Wait, is this car camping? Yes, it is. Okay. Freaking campers, man. I'm actually doing a 1,000 kilometer challenge. I just left Yes home, so yeah. But yeah, so I will touch into the whole USB-C thing, plus also maybe what we heard recently. Elon tweeted about that, you know, we should get rid of AC and only use DC. Yeah, I'll come back to that also. But first, let's talk about USB here, USB-C. You know, the USB-C standard, if you have the PD, right, it goes up to 28 volts and 5 amps. Maybe, I don't know if it goes even higher, but at least the devices I use, they go, I usually pull only 20 volts for the laptop. I don't have any 28 volt USB devices, but yeah, I have some Jova products that uses USB-C. For example, the portable compressor, it can actually pull 100 watts, yeah, 20 volt, 5 amps, and then I actually have it with me right now, which is the fridge. It's a Model Y fridge, but yeah, I mean it is kind of big, but it fits in many other trunks, so I just put it in this trunk here. But also, yeah, that one also has a USB-C plug, so I can power it from the car. The weird thing though is that when I plug it into this Kia, yeah, it has this USB-C on the front seats, you know, on the side of the front seat. It's for the rear passenger. When I plug it in there, it gives me an F1 error. I don't know what the heck that is. I have to look up on the manual. But I suppose there could be something with voltage. Well, let me check here. Since I'm now using the power bank instead to power it. Oh, it pulls 20 volts. Okay. So I'm assuming that maybe, yeah, I've seen this, like, I've seen the voltage all over the place. Maybe the Kia here has only 12 volt support on the I don't know what I call it, the front seat plugs. And yeah, it seems like, you know, it depends, you know. Like, USB-C doesn't mean that it supports all the nice voltages that we want, right? For example, in the MEV cars like Volkswagen ID4, ID5, ID7, they don't have the 12 volt outlet in the front, but they have USB-C in front and also in the rear, like in the back, right? But when I plug in my laptop, try to charge my laptop on it was an ID7 a couple of years ago at some press event, test drive event, right? It wouldn't charge. But back then I didn't have the nice power bank I have now, so I can see what's going on, the voltages and stuff. But I would assume that it supports 12 volts, but it doesn't support 20 volts. So, and you know, the list goes on for other cars I tested. I wonder if I'm one of the few car reviewers who test USB-C. So, I kind of know this stuff, but for example, Tesla supports 20 volts and around 3.5 amps, so it goes up to 70 watts. The same with NIO I tested. 20 volts, 3.5 amp, 70 watts. Some of the other Kias, they support 100 watt. I think it was the there was the Kia EV9. Yeah, but not in the poor man's EV9, the EV5. It doesn't. Well, actually, I had to just check it. Maybe there's in the front. I haven't measured all the ports yet. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to have proper power in the USB-C, but you would expect that the more expensive the car is, the better it is, right? Well, not always. Recently, I just tested the Volvo ES90. It cost 1 million NOK or 100,000 euros. You would expect that the USB-C in that car is schnell, right? No, it is langsam, because I measured really crappy 5 volt 3 amp. I was like, is that a joke? That is 15 watt power output only. So I mean, this hopefully this video will encourage car manufacturer to consider what kind of ports they put in the cars. Because for the longest time it was just USB-A, like in Tesla, and actually many cars I tested in the past, right? Like the old Kias, the Leaf and stuff, you know, they only had USB-A. And then one of the first car I tested with USB-C was the Mercedes EQC that came out around 2019, 2020. And I was like, huh? What the heck, man? I was like scratching my head because I only had USB-A devices, right? Or, I mean, USB-C has been out for a while, but so I had to use an adapter. No, I didn't have USB-C cables and stuff. But eventually I fell in love with USB-C, and it's so, I mean, it's powerful enough, at least 100 watts or 140 watts, whatever you go for, right? What kind of voltages. And I believe that actually many electronics today should be USB-C compatible. Or actually, no, what? It shouldn't have other stuff. Like, I have so many electric devices. I bet you also have, but I have, for example, electric stroller from Cybex. They have this regular round plug and a charger. Yeah, actually a charger. You know, many people, they mix up like a type 2 cable is not a charger. Technically, a charging station that you, like the easy charging station I have, is also not a charger. The charger is within the car, onboard charger, or a fast charger, that is a charger. But back to the Cybex electric stroller, it comes with this charger, this adapter that converts 230 volt AC into 18 or 20 volt or whatever, the round plug that feeds the battery. But I mean, the battery just consists of, I mean, it's just a lithium battery. I don't remember the voltage. Could be 7.4 volts or maybe 10.8 volt or something like that, right? But it means that at home I have lots of devices that needs their own power source. Of course, yeah, I mean, you can't just feed the thing with 230 volt AC, you know, it's gonna blow up, right? Or yeah, so, and many of my devices, okay, what do I have? I have a night light with a battery. Portable, okay, very versatile, and you can change the color temperature and the brightness and all that with a remote control, right? There's a clock. We use it on trips, and we also use it in my living, in the bedroom, in Isabella's bedroom, for extra light because I'm getting old, right? But yeah, so that one uses a USB-C, great. And then we have some fans with battery also that I use for various things. I use like a mini fan because when I need to cool down, like we have in the kitchen, right? We use the fan to cool down the food, for example, that we just boil or something for the kids, so it's not too hot. But I also use that fan to cool down myself. And it uses USB-C, great. Except for that, there was something weird with some Chinese devices. It has USB-C, okay, but when I use my other chargers on or other cables, cable, very important. When I use other cables on that fan, it will not charge at all. And I have a few of those made in China products that is weird, because you would expect that the USB-C is just whatever protocol, right? No communication, just for power. But then for some reason it doesn't work. No, I remember. Wifey has this massage machine that also uses USB-C, and it has a battery, right? It is this neck massage thing. It's not a whole massage chair, but just a neck massage thing. And the same thing there. I cannot charge it via regular USB-C cable. I have to use that provided white cable that comes with it. and the same with the fan. So that is strange. Still a big mystery, but whatever. So I have to don't lose those cables, because otherwise I won't be able to charge those devices. But what else do I have? Okay, whatever. I have lots of devices, and many of them are USB-C. I try to, if there's a USB-C version, I will try to get it, and especially if it works with regular plugs, then great. And what else is it? My electric scooter does not have USB-C. It has just a regular one. But there is a workaround, which is that Jovo has this adapter that takes a USB-C and then makes a 12 volt. What they call it exactly? I tend to call it the 12 volt outlet or whatever, right? But it is technically, well, it is 12 volt, but it could also be 24 volt, I think, in the trucks. But it is technically called a cigarette lighter output. Yeah, and this is where I will also talk about the cars I did test nowadays. Like this Kia has one cigarette lighter output. I think it was the classic Ioniq even has 2 cigarette lighter outputs or outlets. Yeah, and what the heck is that thing anyway? Well, it comes from the old time, like really old time, when people used to smoke in the cars. You don't smoke in a car nowadays, do you? No, that's crazy, man. You're gonna depreciate the car by 100,000 NOK as soon as you light up that shit. But yeah, traditionally it was big and round because that outlet was running on 12 volt on the car, right? But it was the purpose of it was to heat up this Wolfram element or whatever it consists of. It pulls only around 100 to 150 watts maybe, but then it's just a small element, and after 1 or 2 minutes you heat up that thing to be extremely warm. I know, because as a kid I play with that thing. I pushed in that cigarette lighter thing, and then after a minute or so it popped out, and I was like, huh? And then I saw it, I was like, it glows red, huh? And then of course I put my thumb on it. I'm like, ah! Yeah, I burned myself. I learned it the hard way. Dude, what the fuck, man? Are you texting? Man. Okay, anyway. Yeah. So that was the whole history, that it was used to light up cigarettes. I don't know, maybe it hit 400, 500 degrees Celsius. But ever since then, that outlet, whatever, plug has been used for various other things. And I think it started initially that it needed around 10 to 15 amps, right? Which is 120 to 180 watts to heat up that element fast enough so you can light up your cigarette within a minute or two, right? But they then made lots of other devices that runs on the cigarette lighter output. Why was that even so common? Well, because for the longest time we didn't have anything else, right? We had, well, actually for a while we didn't even have USB-C. My fossil cars in the past, like the Renault 5 and the Hyundai Accent and yeah, I think, I don't remember if my BMW E61 had it, but those USBs traditionally, the USB-A, they were only like Millennium Falcon, 2013 Model S, was only 500 milliamp and 5 volt, puny 2.5 watts. But then eventually they made faster USB-A also. But even today, USB-A, I think maybe there's some limitation in the whole protocol. Doesn't support more than around 18 watts, which is I think 12 volt and 1.5 amp or something like that. Well, no, maybe it goes to 30 watts. Yeah, okay, well, whatever. But so that's why they had a really powerful ally. No, but they had a real powerful source, which is that the 12 volt outlet, or they call it, cigarette lighter outlet, 120 to 180 watt. It could power fridge, for example, or whatever, the early mobile phones, maybe. Yeah. But you see, like, those standards are really hard to get rid of. Like even today, many Chinese cars I test, they still have USB-A. I think they should get rid of them, because nowadays, do you need USB-A? Nine. USB-C is already good enough, plenty good enough. Wait, dude, this guy speeded up now. It's getting annoying because I want to overtake him, so I want to change lane. Okay, but sorry, I was just focusing a bit on traffic here. But yeah, I mean, I also had I still have some devices that uses the cigarette light there. I have some complicated setup in the past, which is that I needed to charge my my camcorder, actually the one I'm using right now to record, and also my camcorder should have USB-C. Like, there's so many devices that should run on USB-C, right? For example, cameras, mirrorless cameras, SLR, DSLR, whatever, they usually run on 7.4 volt lithium. Perfect for USB. And then for the longest time, I used this clumsy setup where I have this inverter, 100 watt inverter that plugs into the cigarette lighter output, creates 230 volt AC, just so I can use, stop beeping at me, just so I can use my original Canon charger, because I don't want to fuck up anything and destroy the camera. It's freaking expensive to repair it. And then that adapter, the original charge, it is a charger, yeah, the charger has a round plug, and then that delivers 8.4 volts into the camera. So it's very complicated. I have to go from 12 volt DC to 230 volt AC, and then back to 8.4 volt DC again into the camera. But now, with the help of my friend Paul Skodjevåg, he found a device that is USB-C input and then outputs in a round plug that fits here. Well, actually, it wasn't the perfect fit, but I found this again, it is a cigarette lighter input, and then you can have a variable output between 5 and 8, 7.5 volts and 9 volts and whatever, but it doesn't have 8.4 volt. It has either 7.5 volt or 9 volts. So I think if I feed the camcorder with 9 volt, I will fry the battery or fry something in there. So but anyway, so I used that round plug and connected it. He helped me just solder it so that it works with that USB-C. So now I can very elegantly plug in the USB-C, and then I get this round plug that I can plug into the camera. But you see, that is just a workaround, because in the future, as long as devices doesn't pull more than like 10 to 100 watts, they can use USB-C just fine. My fridge is running on USB-C right now, right? Electric scooter, okay, it charges maybe not that fast, but it will work on USB-C. I Google about this. Most PC monitors, they don't have USB. They need AC, but then of course in the monitor there is a converter then to create DC, because it runs on DC. You know, like most devices nowadays in our modern world runs on DC, and many of them even have batteries. I also have this Marshall Emberton 3, which also has USB-C charging. But then I also have a Marshall Acton 3, but that one does not have a battery, but then it runs on the AC outlet. But internally, of course, the amplifier and all the basically amplifier and all, maybe the USB and the Bluetooth communicator or whatever, all that stuff runs on DC. So, and then okay, back to the whole car again. So yeah, this Kia I'm sitting in right now has some USB-Cs here and there. It doesn't have USB-A, which is great, but it also has the cigarette lighter outlet. Well, bold claim from me. For the longest time, I thought, well, we need a cigarette lighter outlet because, you know, my clumsy device setup previously needed that. But what if you move forward so that all the consumer electronics runs on USB-C, charges with USB-C, right? Then that would be plenty enough. And then what the advantage, environmental advantage, is that many devices, depends what you're going to use it for, but you might not need to power it always. It depends. You know, if it's a light, okay, maybe then you want to power it a lot. But I have, for example, this Philly shape, whatever it's called, Philly shape, yes. Electric, what do you call it again? No, shaver, right? It supports USB, but it's USB-A. So there's USB-A in one plug, and then it plugs into the whatever that looks like a 2-pin AC, whatever, on the other end. But it actually means that it runs on DC. Yeah, I had one many like decades ago, I think, where I plugged the AC straight into the shaver. So but that was also battery driven. Yeah, so it means that there must have been an onboard charger in there that converted it, and it wasn't lithium battery. Well, I think even today the one I have doesn't have lithium battery. It's just the other type, nickel metal hydride type, right? But my bold claim is that the cars in the future, they should not have the cigarette lighter output because it's big and bulky, and there's only one output, you know, usually one only. Well, it depends. Some of them, they have one in the trunk, you know, very convenient because you can have, for example, a cooler box. Yeah, but what if the cooler box has a USB-C, like this Jova cooler box I'm using right now, right? It becomes slicker, saves space, and I don't know, maybe it's more versatile because with a USB, with a cigarette lighter output, it's only 12 volt, right? And then if you want to charge something like a phone or something else that uses USB-C, for example, you can buy this adapter, for example, from Jova or many other places, which takes the 12 volt, converts it, and then I don't know, depends. There's probably some kind of voltage regulator because it must also be able to support like 28. Okay, maybe not 28 volt, but at least 20 volts. Many of those adapters, they support 20 volt and maybe 5 amps, or 100 watts, right? Or 140 watts even. It depends. But there's also some kind of power sharing. But you see, okay, so what we could do is that if car manufacturers can get rid of those cigarette lighter outlets or plugs and instead implement powerful USB-C in the trunk, in the front, plenty of them, that would be good enough. And then if you have all devices, you can use this adapter that creates a cigarette lighter outlet, right? Until all your devices are natively supporting USB-C. Yeah. And yeah, by the way, that device I talk about, the thing that takes a USB-C and creates a 12 volt outlet, or what they call it, right? It doesn't work on it. Like, if you plug that thing in that Volvo ES90, it will simply not work. So it seems like it needs, I'm not sure how it was again. I think it needs at least 12 volt, but it can also take 20 volt. But it seems like any USB-C that has 12 volt capability can also, it has 20 volt, can also lower it and go 12 volt. So probably that device, it's quite slick, you know. It doesn't seem like it has any voltage regulator. I think it's just some simple electronics in there that negotiates with the USB-C and ask, do you have 12 volt? And then the USB says, yes, I have 12 volt, I have 20 volt. Do you want it? 9, I want 12 volt. Okay, boop, I'll put 12 volts, done, right? So no conversion, I think. So yeah, but sorry, wait, the car is bugging me. But it means that the car manufacturers, we need to kind of push them into getting more powerful USB, because I've seen it all over the place. I don't remember which car it was again. I think, well, I wonder if it was a BYD Atto 3 Evo, or where they had 2 USB-C ports in the back and 2 in the front. But the weird thing was that the left port had different max power than the right port. One was weaker than the other. I was like, huh? Sorry, I think even lower voltage on one of them. No, I think what we need is preferably at least one of those 28 volt 5 amp or 140 watt outputs, and then also maybe some not so powerful. Yeah, I guess if you have lots of those 100 watts, I mean, that's actually several hundred watts total, right? So they need to wire it up to be powerful enough. But what they could do is that at least in the trunk you have 100 watts. That should be plenty to power like a cooler box. I tested this, of course. Even the 35 liter cooler box I have from Jovia pulls only around 30 watts most of the time. I've seen it peak at around 70 watts, but not for too long. Even even when I switch it off the eco mode, I just use the regular, full power. It still pulls only around 35 watts. So that is plenty. But of course, there could be some less efficient boxes out there, or you could maybe want other devices in the trunk. So I think 100 watts should be plenty, and you can probably have some kind of splitter there. So yeah, and then in the rear seat or somewhere, right, second row, should also be some USBs there. But yeah, I mean, total USB power for the whole car could be something like 1 kilowatt. So of course the car's DC converter should be powerful enough. It already needs to be kind of powerful, like Tesla. From what I remember, Tesla Model S, I don't know how it is in Model 3 and Y, but the Model S has a 2 kilowatt on board, the 2 kilowatt DC converter. So this thing will then take the high voltage battery, 400 volt or whatever, right, and then convert it down to 12 volt, and then feed it with whatever that needs 12 volt, like lights or screen or doors or whatever, and of course a bit of USB. So I think also in the future those DC converters that need to be powerful enough. Could be that many cars, they don't have beefy enough. Okay, I heard from that some Tesla Model S owners in the past, they wanted to hook up some like beefy stereo, some subwoofer and stuff, that might pull 500 watts or 1 kilowatt, right? Yeah, so that's why. But you can just hook it onto the converter, DC converter, and it will keep it topped up, so you won't run out of 12 volt. So yeah. So and that, okay, maybe I have talked enough about the USB-C you guys import, but also I need to mention that I have lots of devices that uses batteries. I also have battery. I have a Bosch Rotax battery-driven lawnmower, and I have also the leaf blower, uses the same type of battery, the 36 volts. I have the whole series of Ryobi stuff. We have we call it grovstøvsuger, but it's just a vacuum cleaner that can vacuum like big chunks of stuff, also water. And that is 18 volt, the One Plus. And also, what else is it? Snow blower, yes. That is 36 volt. And also this pressure washer, Ryobi, that runs on the same batteries, 36 volt batteries. You can take 2 batteries. Yeah. And okay, whatever. But what I'm saying is that I realize I have lots of devices that runs on DC, and this is what Elon was talking about, right? That why don't we get rid of AC? Because eventually I will get solar, which also runs on DC. But then comes the problem with the grid. But then I heard that there is some high voltage, what do you call it again? High voltage DC transmission line or something. They have made it efficient for transmitting DC. But I don't know, sounds to me like the power of 3-phase is quite good. I have 3-phase in the house, you know, 63 amp fuse, so 43 kilowatt 3-phase into the house. And if you want to replace that with DC, well, it can't just be 400 volt DC. It has to be how much is it? 600 volt something to be able to match the 3-phase AC. So I don't know. I mean, how are we gonna do this? I mean, does it matter? Can't we just live with this? We have lived with AC for decades, yeah, centuries almost, right? So why change it? And on that topic, I actually don't know, because I don't know too much about the whole thing. But I just know that if we have lots of USB-C, if the USB-C becomes a standard, you should be able to power 95% of your devices at home, because most of them, like I have mentioned now in this video, requires only 10 to 100 watts. Depends. Some stuff that needs to charge, okay, like you have to charge your electric bike or some shit, okay, maybe then it's gonna go kind of slow. Maybe you can double penetrate. How about that? You use 2 USB-C, so you get 280 watts. Yeah, then we're cooking. Or maybe there will eventually be a higher, even higher voltage USB-C standard out there. But that would actually be very convenient if I have USB-C in the outlet. I mean, in the wall, yeah. But then there's got to be some kind of like USB or some kind of charger somewhere centralized, or I don't know how they're gonna do it. But I mean, the whole idea is maybe to have USB-C along with the AC out there. But I mean, for now, those like those chargers, those USB whatever, I mean, they are cheap, right? You just plug it in and then you usually get 140 watt or whatever, plenty, and they're not that expensive. But I mean, if I could, does it matter though? If I had solar that produces 400 volt DC, or I don't know, 200 volt DC, I don't know what they operate on, depends, I guess. Well, wouldn't it be great to just use that DC in a USB? You just have to step it down a bit, but then you don't have to go via AC. Because I realized when I talk about that device I used for charging my camcorder, I used to have one a long time ago. That was a cigarette lighter output that had the round plug, 8.4 volt round plug. You could plug it right into the camcorder and it would charge it. But then over time, the plug wore out and then I threw it away. Maybe that was a mistake, because it was just the plug that wore out. The electronics was still producing 8.4 volt. But my point is that that thing only had to step 12 volt DC down to 8.4 volt. So it was very compact and probably very efficient. But when I look at my, well, it's in the garage, I don't bring it anymore. My inverter, man, there's a noisy fossil here. I do. Speaking of inefficient stuff, then a freaking fossil drives by. No, but you know, my 100 watt inverter is freaking big and chunky, and it probably weighs 200-300 grams, and it's I mean, try to describe here the size. It's the size of I don't know, like a small bottle, maybe like a 350 milliliter bottle, right? So what it means that the electronics that is needed to transform whatever 12 volt into 230 volt takes some space, and who knows how inefficient that is? Because many of those that you can buy from Biltema or whatever, they come with a fan. The one I had doesn't have a fan. I purposely picked that one because it didn't have a fan, because I didn't want it to. No, I forgot. It broke. Did I get rid of it? I think it went kaput or something. Yeah, I think it broke after a while. So then I got another one, and that one actually has a fan. And it's strange because even when I'm charging my camcorder, I think the camcorder pulls only 10 to 15 watts. It's really low power, right? But with a new inverter I had, the fan was running after like 15-20 minutes of charging. I'm like, what? Why does it need to cool down that thing? Well, there must be only one explanation. It is inefficient. So, but maybe it's just, okay, that's kind of corner case, but well, I don't know how inefficient. Maybe those solar inverters, like the one you use for solar, they're probably way more efficient, right? Better electronics than the cheap ones you use in a car. But yeah, just saying that maybe if you stay only on DC, it will be better. Because, yeah, think about this. I mean, it's all about efficiency. Like, we just passed a Tesla. Efficiency trumps everything. So, if we can make, if we can shave off, I don't know, reduce the losses by 10%. Well, okay, let's put it this way. Like, when you do the DC to AC conversion, and then also do the AC to DC conversion back again in the house, several places in the house where you have like a TV, some kitchen machine or whatever, could be as much as 20% loss round trip, right, back and forth, right? Yeah, well, if you can shave it off to only 10% loss or 5% loss, then that is better. Then you save electricity. Might not be that much, but it depends. If you have lots of those together over time, it could actually matter. So yeah, because I think, you know, that those devices I mentioned, like the garden tools and the pressure washer and all that stuff, I think they run on some DC motor, DC brushless motor. And I wonder also those kitchen appliances we have, like we have Brown Star Mixer and some other stuff. Well, they take AC, but by the end of the day, they might need DC internally. So they just do some lossy conversion or some shit, right? So, well, I don't know. But it sounds to me like this is really hard to change, because the 230 volt in Europe or in the Western world, the developed world, yeah, we don't talk about the US, right? But like, it's so hard to change this, right? Just like the cigarette lighter outlet I mentioned, there was a historic reason why it was designed like that, big and bulky, right? And it was, well, only for power, not for communication. USB, you can have communication there also. But also, like many devices in the past might have been AC, right? I don't remember, but I remember that the CRT screen, you know, the old TVs back then, they needed AC because the CRT screen had this tube that had the fire stuff hitting this screen. That's why they call it a screen back then, yes. To create light and then create the picture, right? But it did that 50 times per second in, well, actually it was, wait, how was this again? It was they also used interlace, yeah, okay. But actually one of my first camcorders was based on, it could shoot interlace on it. But nowadays we only talk about progressive. But whatever, my point is that back then, I think the CRT needed AC, and that's why the TV in Europe, they are 50 hertz, the refresh rate, and then in America they use 60 hertz because the grid in US is 60 hertz. But nowadays we only use flat screen, and flat screens, they can run just fine. They can run on 20 to 50 watts, or maybe bigger screens they need 100 watts. but they are internally just operating on DC, I believe, not AC anymore. So, like, what devices do we have that uses AC nowadays? I don't know. And you know, speaking of that, you know that I measure it that when we talk about AC charging, it's so common that we call it AC charging, but it's actually slow charging. AC charging, or the onboard charger, I measured in the Model 3 to have 8% loss, which means that if you're charging at 11 kilowatt, that's almost 1 kilowatt of heat loss. I mean, yeah. What if you could just get some kind of DC in the house instead, right? If you can actually get 400 volt-ish DC, or okay, if you don't have the correct voltage, if you have 800 volt car, okay, we need 800 volt houses then, 1000 volt. No, but I think even if you have let's say 400 volt DC from the solar or from your battery, well, the batteries operate at 48 volt. Okay, shit. Okay, but whatever. If you have, let's say, imagine if you have 400 volt or 200 volt from solar, the losses might be lower if you can then charge your car, but you need a different type of charging station. I don't know. I think we could even call it a charger. Technically, it could be a charger, because the way it works today is actually quite dumb. You know, like the solar is then converted into AC, and then you feed the EC box with AC, and then convert it into the car. So when I mentioned 8% loss in the onboard charger, in car's onboard charger, how much losses do we have in the solar inverter then? Possibly 8% also. Are we talking about 16% total loss? I mean, that's big, right? I bet some kind of DC converter, especially if the voltage is not that big difference, right? We only talk about maybe 2x conversion rate here. Maybe we can get it down to 5% loss. I don't know, maybe someone else more expert than me to tell me how much losses there would be. But to me, that sounds like it's totally worth it. And then, well, maybe someone will eventually make something like that. Well, I don't know. You need then a direct line from the PV into the charger, maybe. Yeah. So the problem then is that the house already has AC internally. So then they need to wire up extra wire, or yeah, it depends. If you have the solar stuff and the batteries already in the garage, and you have the charging station in the garage, okay, then maybe. But other than that, it could be kind of complicated and expensive to invest. But I mean, I'm not against DC in the future, but I feel like it's gonna be hard, right? But I mean, everything is possible if you just go for it. I remember, like in the 60s, Sweden, they drove on the left side, which is the wrong side. Should have been the right side, which is the right side. They drove on the wrong side of the road, like in UK, right? But Sweden managed to switch over to drive on the right side, which is the right side. There was like one day they planned on everything. They had to freaking rebuild everything. The buses were aligned wrong, so they had to discard like everything. The whole country needed to readjust, but they did it. Sweden did it, you know, and it's good because now it's only UK that drives on the wrong side of the road. Yeah, well, and then we have some Asian countries. Yeah, so maybe it's possible, and we just need a dictator. You know, or Czech Republic also did that. Oh, okay, cool. Someone in the live stream mentioned that. But also, China, when you have a dictator that can just say, "No for you," you know, then they can force people into switching. They switched over to only electric motorbikes. I was just blown away how quiet and nice it was when I was in China. I was like, huh? Dude, like it's like in a completely different planet than Thailand. Thailand is just, it's like freaking anarchy over there, man. Like, it's like totally uncivilized compared to China, right? When it comes to motorbikes, because there they can just force people, yeah, do this or you're not able to drive motorbike. They're like, oh shit, so then they have to adapt. But here, I don't know. I mean, I already built the house. If I didn't build the house, I mean, if I was in the planning of building the house, maybe I should have wired up some USB, I don't know, maybe those AC wires in the house. I mean, they stay there for decades, right? They don't degrade, they don't, you know, you don't have to change them on the thing. So, which makes me wonder, because when I talk to this guy about those, you know, okay, sorry, jumping a bit topics here, but you know, when I talk about those Phoenix contacts, those Phoenix plugs and those Amphenol plugs, I heard that they do degrade over time, and then as they degrade, they will perform worse. And for example, the Amphenol plug that I tested was able to boost 600 amp for 3 to 4 minutes before it had to throttle. If they were, after many years, when they were degrade, they will boost for less before they start overheating and will throttle. But then I was wondering, does it mean that the cables degrade? What the heck is that smell? It smells like shit in here. Okay, some farm shit. But okay, anyway, sorry. This car does not filter out shit smell very well. Oh, yeah, why do I mention this? Because Optimus Prime, my Model X, has HEPA filter, and it was incredibly good. I would just drive through farm shite, and then when I step out of the car, it's like, huh? What the heck did that smell? Yeah, okay, just mentioning it. But okay, what the heck was I going to say again? Now I totally forgot about it. Yeah, you see, this is the problem when I zone out and I have all the yeah, okay, I have to wait for the live stream to remind me what the heck was I talking about again. But okay, anyway, yeah, cable degrade, yeah. But I believe that it's the plug that degrades, the pins or whatever plugs. So the cable itself should not degrade even after many, many years. So, yeah. Which means that if those Amphenol plugs eventually degrades, what you could do is just replace them with Phoenix. And then they're very better. No, but yeah, and also, yeah, I heard some people, they say that, yeah, but you know, if they overheat, you could just put a wet cloth over that. That's what some dude in US did. Well, supposedly, whoever did that, he got slapped in his hand by Tesla, because it was not safe to do that. You trick the system into thinking that parts of the cable is cooler, but there could be other places that overheat. You know, it's like putting a nail in the fuse box, right? There's a reason why you have that safety in the fuse box, right? The circuit breaker or there. But yeah, so okay, so back to the whole thing. Yeah, so in my house, yeah, well, if I knew about this, maybe I should have wired up some USB-C, but then I have to centrally have some beefy USB-C power source then over there. So plus the problem with USB-C is that well, it's 20 volts maybe, and then you wire 20 volts, like 20 meters or 50 meters. Okay, maybe not 50 meters. Well, it depends how far you have to wire there. So then the problem is that there will be massive losses, way too low voltage and way too high current, or yeah. So then, like, dude, like if I did try to do that shit, right? Put like a USB charger, whatever, power source. Man, what the heck is wrong with a Lithuanian trucker? Shit, man. It's Valdemar's brother from another mother. No, but if I try to do that shit and pull a 20-meter cable, okay, you push 20 volt in one end, and then you get 15 volt in the other end. Maybe. Okay, so that's not gonna work. No. So I mean, for the whole thing, the whole switching over to DC, you know, that Elon talk about, I think we need at least 200 to 400 volt. Then we have low enough losses, right, for decent length, like 50 to 100 meter length without crazy stuff going on. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, interesting topic. Like for example, since we're already into this whole topic here, what about 12 volt in the cars? Yeah, well, Cybertruck switched to 48 volt, but well, and then Tesla, they have 16 volt, but they use the lithium batteries instead of the lead acid batteries. But the whole 16 volt, I mean, 16 volt versus 12 volt, that's almost like the Kia EV9 that has 550 volt, right? And they call it the 800 volt architecture, versus actually an I-Pace or some of the other cars I tested. What was that again? Yeah, even this car. Yeah, this EV5 right now at 78% state of charge. I have 431 volt. So you see, this is only 100 volt lower than the EV9 roughly. But okay, so is there a big advantage to switch over to 48 volt in the cars? Well, I don't know. Maybe they can have lower wiring. Thinner wires and higher power for various things. But like the whole 800 volt architecture, you know, yeah, I also talk about that. People like, you know, I made a video many years ago where I said that the whole 800 volt from back then was just a hype, because people said, oh, but 800 volt is more efficient. No, not really. The losses there is just minimal, or like it seems like there's other things you can save on, like Tesla. You know, Tesla 400 volt, but they managed to make the cars really efficient. And then many 800 volt cars, they tend to be thirsty for some reason, unless we test maybe the P7 Plus, yeah, the proper 800 volt efficient car out there. But yeah, back then I claimed that 800 volt doesn't really have any gain. And back then also I look at those 800 volt cars like the the Kia EV6 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5. They charge at 230 volt. Sorry, 230 kilowatt back then, which is like Tesla can already do that, you know. But then people blindly believe that well, but if you just wire your battery down to 800 volt, then you cut down the current, and then you can charge much faster. Like, no, that is incorrect claim. You can't just rearrange the cells and then suddenly the cells will charge much faster. They can, like, you take a 2C cell and then put many of those in series instead of parallel, and then suddenly you get 5C cell, right? That's not how it works, bro. So, but then of course eventually over time batteries, I don't know, China, I guess. I feel like China is doing all the R&D nowadays about batteries and electronics. But once battery manufacturers, they make better and better cells, then they can suddenly charge faster. Like I have, you know, in this car now, I use several phones. I have a phone for live streaming right now. This is a Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, and I have another Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus I use for car scanner. And those phones, they can charge at only 10 watts most of the time. I think maybe 10 to 15 watts. But then my way newer Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus still operates on the same voltage. 7.4 volts, I believe they are. Oh, no, sorry. These are 3.7 volt. Yeah, only one cell in series, yes. But the same 3.7 volt, but charges way faster. If I go kind of deep on my new phone, I can get 45 watts. And the newer phones nowadays can go like 100 watts, right? It's crazy how fast they can charge. But why? I mean, they didn't double the voltage on the phone, but they can suddenly charge faster. Well, because the cells are better, newer tech. Yeah, and that's what I believe that when I tested the Xpeng race recently, I was like, yeah, they finally have some good stuff going on. And I think the Chinese, they figured out that the 800, no, it's not, the LFP batteries can take more beating. That's why you see that the golden battery from Geely supposedly charges at, it's charged at higher C rate than the NMC or the whatever variant with a bigger battery, I mean a bigger net capacity. So I will borrow the Seeker 7 GT Core in a couple of weeks with a golden battery, and supposedly that will charge faster than the 100 kilowatt hour. And Xpeng, at least for many of the cars, the G6 and G9, they went for the LFP battery, but then the X9 went for the NMC, or which one was it again? Yeah. But it seems like with once those Chinese guys, man, they figure out how to do the cooling properly, don't have too high delta between min max temp on the cells. I've seen it in the G6 G9. No, was it G6 G9? They have roughly like 2 to 5 degrees Celsius delta. Sometimes I think it was even like 6-7 degrees Celsius delta between min max temp. So then they can push the cells harder. Yeah, whereas the Korean cars, well, now we have only 27 to 31 degrees Celsius, but the Korean cars, I've seen it, they can go as much as 12 degrees Celsius delta between min and max temp, which is not ideal. But then you can kind of cold gate or rapid gate at the same session. But okay, whatever. A lot of diversions here, different topics, but the whole topic today was about the whole, USB-C, DC. Yeah, once you start looking around you will realize that lots of stuff runs on DC. Yeah, okay, I know. Electric motors in electric cars, they still run on 3-phase AC. So, yeah, but I mean, the whole thing Elon talk about is the transmission part, or the the grid and all that, and internally in the house and so on. That can be DC. Well, in a way, he is right about that, but it's just it's gonna be so hard, man, to change the whole grid. And yeah, I don't know if there's any benefits, but I think at least what we could do is that, okay, it depends, but I mean, if it's just like 10 to 20 watt device at home, who cares, right? If there's some losses, and especially in Norway, okay, well, it's a 1-to-1. That heat generated in winter or most of the year, that heat is useful for heating the house, as long as it's inside the house and you want the heating, of course. In the garage, it doesn't matter, right? Or many places, but many places that heat is nice to have, but it's just COP1, whatever is generated. But of course, it can be the other way around, that if it's hot outside, then you need to run the AC. Well, I mean the air conditioning, not alternate current, but you run the air conditioning harder to cool down the house. But I mean, I think what actually matters, what sucks a lot of electricity, power, is car charging. Yeah. So if anything, if there's a place where we could try to stick with the DC without going via AC, would be for car charging, if you have solar. So I guess I'll try to find out if it's possible one day, if I get solar, if I can go DC without AC. Yeah, that would be the biggest benefit. And then eventually I will also use that Pixie battery we have, that thing. I wonder if they have stuff that could go from the 48 volt in those home batteries and straight into 400 something volt, or yeah, for car charging. I think what we need? We need this okay, it will work on existing cars without retrofitting them, because the type 2 or the AC port will still be for AC, right? But we need this DC charger, but it's not a fast charger. It doesn't have to be that fast, right? We need this 10 kilowatt DC with a CCS plug, yeah, and then somehow that end needs to be fed into the Pixie battery, the 48 volt. So you take 48 volt and you transform, or you convert it into 400 volt or possibly 800 volt. Yeah, shit, you need 800 volt capabilities. Yeah, but okay, worst case, you go, you step 15 to 20 times up, well, but you stay within DC. Maybe someone who's expert can tell me that will probably be less losses, right? I would try that just for fun and somehow test it and try to measure it, how much losses we have. But that would be an interesting project just to find out about that. Yeah. So wait, can I do anything with my EcoFlow? No, I can't. Okay. No, okay. I have EcoFlow at home. Yeah. But the EcoFlow, it's just a small system, you know, and it runs at the EcoFlow solar, whatever portable solar, runs at only 10 to 100 volts. And then I think the EcoFlow battery runs at 48 volt, but then it has an inverter, so it goes there. And then, yeah, there are some DC outputs I could use, but that's not nearly enough to power a car with it. Yeah, I'm not sure how we can do that. Can we even charge a car with the USB-C? Well, it's gonna take forever, man. But 140 watts into the car, but you can double penetrate. You get 280 watts. It's gonna take forever, but it will slowly get there. Yes, just to fight the vampire drain in the Tesla. Yeah. Okay. I mean, interesting indeed. I find this topic, and then we'll see. Back to the original topic about USB. We will see over the years what car manufacturers going to do. But I just hope that they will get rid of the cigarette lighter output. It sounds crazy. It's very useful, but no, we need to get rid of it. Yes, for slicker USB instead. It's more flexible. Yes. Okay, anyway, I think that's going to be for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thank you for watching and talk to you later.